Okay, can you hear me? Welcome, everybody, to the March 17th Hannibal Board of Public Works meeting. We'll start off with a prayer. It's rather lengthy, but I thought it might be appropriate for what we're dealing with at this time. Father, we pray that we don't lose sight of you in our help and refuge. We pray that none of us would be driven by fear. Maybe be full of faith and godly wisdom instead. Pray for all that fight anxiety during this time. Pray for those who have the virus and will be healed, and that the spread would slow and soon be eradicated. Pray for the doctors and nurses. Pray for those scientists and biomedical engineers to invent a way to cure and immunize against the new virus. Pray for those people that are quarantined. Pray for the oldest, the youngest, and those most susceptible to the disease. Pray for all those people that are facing precarious situations, such as government agencies that close, schools that delay semesters, and companies that take financial hits. Pray for us that we would act with charity and clarity as we're making decisions without much modern precedent. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Here's my paper. Okay. We have the first up on the agenda is the consent agenda with the minutes, payrolls, and claims. Do I hear a motion to accept that?
I'll make that motion, yes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda approved. Any comments from the audience? No comments? Good. Okay, regular reports, General Manager and Operations Report. Mr. Matt Munslinger.
First off, I'd like to bring note to that I presented to the council at their March 3rd meeting regarding the GAC project, and be providing an additional update tonight regarding that project going online. Prairie State is running better than it has in the past. However, Unit 2 still suffering from tube leak problems. It was down here the week of February 17th for a couple days, and then also right after the first of the month, I think it went down again for the same issue. So, the human resources side of things, Jeff Williams was promoted to supervisor of the wastewater treatment plant. That was a position that was vacated when Lance Kendrick left in December. We did split the duties of the water and wastewater plants, and Jeff's in charge of just the wastewater plant only. This will be in addition to doing the pretreatment program, which he's been in charge of for the last few years. Also want to bring note, something that I didn't get put in the report, but Mark Turner, water plant operator, also received his A license last month, or notification that he passed his test the last couple of weeks. So, continuing on public relations, we're trying to promote different avenues or different departments that we have here in this Hannibal Proud campaign. If you saw our Facebook post today, the sewer crew was highlighted in raising the manholes down there along Warren Barrett. So something to look out for. You can also see some of the things that are going to happen around Earth Day later in April. I guess it's pending.
Maybe not.
But those were the planned events. They continue on to page 2 there at the top with stream team cleanup on the 25th, starting at Central Park around 8 a.m. Juben Moss, sewer crew member, was Employee of the Month. You can see some of our social media followings listed there in the middle of page 2. Big item in the stormwater department was when we took over, or given the stormwater or the MS4 permit several years ago, part of that permit required us to develop a program. We spent, I don't know, roughly 8 months, I think, developing that program with input from MDNR and by looking at other municipalities' plans. We submitted that to DENR, I think it was March of 2018. They never reviewed it. There's new people in charge of that department now, and the direction that they're taking is that they're going to basically develop a plan, put it out there for municipals to adopt, and there was a couple events where Andrew's attended one here earlier this month, and there's one later in the month that's scheduled. I don't know if that'll occur or not, to comment on that plan.
So the plan is going to be a one-size-fits-all thing?
There can be modifications to it, is my understanding,
Okay.
but it's going to be the backbone of the plan, and they're not going to review the existing plan that we had submitted. So
Does it seem like it's going to be more or less stringent than the plan that we submitted? AKA
It just
cheaper, more expensive.
I haven't had a chance to really look through it at this point.
Okay.
I've got a copy of the draft plan on my desk I can forward to you all, just so you can look at it and see if you have any copies or any comments on it.
It's a relatively big departure.
Yeah.
We put a lot of time and money in this.
Yep. So, I mean, I'd at least like to have some feedback if we were heading in the right direction, or if we're totally off base, or you know, that plan was what they determined our compliance or non-compliance with. We've had an inspection.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I'd like to have some feedback on it, I guess.
Yeah.
So, we're still working with Black and Beach to set up this Citizens Advisory Committee with this virus outbreak. We've kind of held off on sending out letters. We were planning on doing that this week. We'll probably follow up with, see how long this impacts us, and then probably make phone calls with targeted individuals, targeted organizations, maybe toward middle to later part of April. Initial plan was to have meetings May, June, and July. And that way, we gave it time to those people to get out there in the community leading up to the November election. So,
Cool.
we only had the one storm sewer failure on Union Street that was reported for the month, and we didn't do any repairs on anything that is out there. It's relatively quiet month as far as outages
Before we skip ahead,
on electric.
do we have any idea how much the Union Street thing is going to cost?
I believe the plan that the city is seeking funding from CDBG is in the $750,000 to $800,000 range
Oh, wow.
because of the depth and the type of construction.
Okay.
I believe that their plan is to replace the construction from the inlet clear through the failed portion.
Oh, okay.
Because once you dig a hole down there, I mean, you've got a majority of it exposed already. So,
Okay. Wow, that's a lot more substantial than I thought.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
so
How much would you know how much CDBG would cover?
I believe that amount was tailored toward what CDBG
Okay.
would provide,
Okay.
or could provide, I guess.
Yeah.
I think initial thoughts on replacement of the whole storm sewer system from inlet to outlet was roughly twice that,
Yeah.
12 or 1.2 to $1.5 million.
Okay.
I've got a copy of a report. I think I forwarded to all of you that had that in there as well. So, again, with electric department, we only had 5 outages. You see that the number of vehicle accidents is creeping up in there every month. I don't know. It was toward the beginning of this month. We had a pole hit on Pleasant that was only replaced 3 weeks earlier from a vehicle accident. And it's not like it's a pole that's set out close to the road. It's people driving too fast coming down Pleasant Street. And for some reason or not, they find that pole in their driving line. So,
Too bad for them too.
yep. We had 5 water leaks, or 3 water main breaks during the month of February. None of them required boil orders. There was a larger one down there on the south side of the bridge on Ely Street that required a couple days of work and a street closure to get that completed. So,
I saw that over there, yeah.
yeah. No SSOs for the month. On the sewer side, the crew through excavation and cured in place point repairs, they were able to do rehab 65 feet of main, so that's a good deal. It's something that we've been tracking for the last couple of years on the insurance side, and that number has been creeping up every year. So we did start manhole raising again this last week. We did some areas in the floodplain prior to any flooding. That way we can hopefully seal that up, not have to use that constructed SSO as much this year. Then we'll be moving out. We've got the Oakwood area around Mark Twain School and the Indian Mounds area are the main concentrations. This past week we've been picking up some of the outliers, and then we'll get into those areas and go at it and get those knocked out as well. Like we have roughly 200 manholes that are still low grade. So
Will we be able to complete those this season?
we should be able to complete it. There are some other paving projects that the city's planning to do, and we're just waiting to get a indication on how large those projects are going to be and what the impacts are. It also depends on how much time we want to focus on other activities such as repairing mains and stuff like that. So it does require 4 to 5 people, 4 days a week.
Yeah.
So, water treatment plant, you can see that our water production numbers are actually higher February of 2020 compared to February of 2019. So that's, a big statistic we've been tracking since.
Oh, we're missing that number on our packet.
February 2020.
Oh, no, sorry.
I've got it.
Thank you.
Again, at the water plant, mainly most activities have been focused around construction. What's been going on, getting operators involved with the new equipment. We're having training up there tomorrow or Thursday to go over how the process works and what valves to operate and how the control system works. So it's something that they're eager to learn, but at the same time, it's something new, so it's something we're going to have to just repeat the instruction, and we're actually taking some people that used to operate at the water plant up there as well with this virus outbreak. Make sure that we have enough people trained on the process and the equipment and new procedures that we can continue operation of the plant should somebody there get sick. So
That's smart.
wastewater treatment plant, we had the annual tune-up on the PSA skid. That was completed the week of February 10th. Nothing major came out of that other than we had to order some additional parts, spare parts and such that operator or that contractor found that needed replacement or would soon need replacement. Something that Lance was working on before he left was new gates for the head of the reactor. Those were purchased, I think, back in November. They finally showed up about the second week of February. So now we're just working with that contractor to find a time when the plant flow is down enough that they can get in there and make that switch from the old gates to the new gates. Another thing to highlight on the MIRMA side of things, we had an inspection by the MIRMA person in late January. We scored 100% on it, which resulted in a loss experience credit of almost a little over $21,000. So
Cool.
that's something that we've had consistent 100% scores. I think 12 out of the last 13 years or something of that nature. We had one year we had one oversight, but other than that,
Very cool.
keep pretty good books and in tune with what our insurance carriers wanting to see out of us.
That's very good work on everybody's behalf.
I guess the last thing I want to bring to your last couple of things I want to bring to your attention is, the cutoffs. This past month we saw 56 cutoffs due to non-payment. We had roughly $2,200 that we had provided through our late fee contributions to Douglas Community Center. That'll come up when we talk about some of the changes that we're going to implement regarding the virus outbreak. So
Cool.
that's all I've got. Unless anybody has any additional questions.
For some finances.
You got it. Yeah.
It's too nice to talk about numbers very long, so I'll try to be brief. On the first page of your financial packet, cash continues to decrease as we fund.
Hey, before you even get started.
Stefan, usually you save my questions till the end.
Well, I mean, my question is going to inform the rest of it.
Okay.
So just out of curiosity, when you're making a budget for a leap year, do you account the extra day in?
Why no, Stefan, I don't.
Okay.
But perhaps I should.
Okay.
Increase my budget by 1 over 365. So what's that? 0.003%.
Well, I mean, for the month of February, it'd be, much more significant percentage.
Be a 3.7%.
Yeah.
Well, no, Stefan, perhaps I. In 4 years, remind me.
Okay. I'll set a calendar reminder.
Remind me in 4 years from now to factor in leap days in my budget.
Okay.
No, it's not. My budget is not quite that granular, sadly. So I kind of set it.
3% off.
Yeah, I sandbagged it by 3%. Better safe than sorry, they say. Oh my! All right, cash continues to decrease as we fund capital costs related to the water GAC project, and we made annual principal and interest payment on the diesel generator lease in February. There were no other major changes on the balance sheet. The next page is current month actual compared to budget. February was a good month financially, with favorable variances in all funds, net income causing a utility-wide. Stefan noticed utility-wide this month, not company-wide.
Yeah, I like that.
That's for you.
I like it.
Utility-wide net income to be about 42% more than budgeted. Lower purchase power costs in the electric fund and lower operating expenses in all funds more than offset lower operating revenues in the electric fund. The next page is current month actual compared to the same month last year. A year ago, February 2019, we received reimbursement for storm relief efforts in the electric fund, which caused operating expenses to be artificially low that month. This, combined with higher operating expenses in all funds, caused utility-wide net income for February to be about 29% lower than the same month a year ago. So for the month, we were better than budgeted, but slightly below same month a year ago. The next page back is current fiscal year-to-date actual compared to budget. We're now 8 months, if I counted right, into the new fiscal year. And utility-wide net income is about 29% more than budgeted. Lower than budgeted operating revenues in the electric fund are being more than offset by savings and purchase power in that fund. The water fund continues to reflect the favorable results of the 2 months of unbudgeted sales and discounted early payoff with Rawls County Water Supply District Number 1. The sewer fund's results are being positively affected by higher than budgeted operating revenues, more than offsetting higher than budgeted operating expenses. All in all, it's a very solid year financially, obviously with a positive net income variance and very much in line with our budget, with utility-wide operating revenues and expenses both within 1% to 2% of their budgeted amounts, respectively. The next page is current fiscal year-to-date actual compared to the same time period last year. Utility-wide net income is about 22% less than the same time period last year. Compared to this time last year, lower operating revenues in the electric fund and higher operating expenses in all funds are more than offsetting lower purchase power costs in the electric fund and higher operating revenues in the water fund. So again, we're ahead of budget, though not quite as well as the same time period a year ago. Solid year developing financially so far. Other information given, of course, is our cash reserves and targets, current investment listing, as well as the key performance indicator dashboard. here in March, we did have the opportunity to bring some more money back to F&M. A bond was called early at Commerce Capital Markets, and F&M had a more generous rate than we were able to obtain elsewhere. So a further $100,000 came back that you'll see on next month's investment listing.
Out of curiosity, what was that rate?
It's 5 years for 1.4, I believe.
That's substantially different than it would have been 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, if you see that $1 million one we had F&M a year or so ago was at 3.15.
Yeah, boy, that's
The
a
times, they are changing.
they are.
Rates.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you, Abe.
Thanks, Abe.
Thanks, Abe. So we have projects report?
Yeah, the first one is, again, the water plant project, the GAC project. We received the first 2 loads, or first 4 loads of March of GAC material or media on the 2nd and 3rd of March. We received the other 4 loads, 2 yesterday and 2 today.
Oh, cool.
So filters 5 through 8 were backwashed last week. They'll backwash 1 through 4 this week. The plan is for them to go, we'll start running water through them later this week. That give the operators some time to learn them. And then we're supposed to get all of our analyzers online next week. It looks like it's going to be delayed until early April before they can get it, provided that their company allows them to travel. But we can do grab samples and testing in our current lab, so it may slow some of the process down a little bit. Might not get the fine tuning that we want at this point, but we'll still be able to run water through. And the plan would be to turn the ammonia off on the 31st. That way it gives us plenty of time to work through the controls, make sure the operators are familiar with the operation of the new plant, and then they've had multiple times actually operating the new part of the plant. So that's the plan for the time being. Park Road will probably be closed starting next week to do the regrading and concrete work. We're anticipating 2 to 3 weeks depending on weather.
Oh, wow.
And that will be that small section right there just past the turnoff to the water plant and just past the new GAC building.
Does Andy know that?
They are aware of it, yes. It's something we've been coordinating with them since the project started.
Okay.
They had hoped to be able to do it quicker this spring, but the frost on the ground just wouldn't allow the grading to occur. And then with the large trucks being in there, they had to bring in gravel and get that all built up. So those trucks were able to get backed into the building, and so it's delayed the start of that actual grading and concrete work till now.
It's going to be completely closed off to all traffic, just vehicular traffic, or can people walk in?
People can walk past it.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Are we going to put signs up that say that?
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll have to work with the contractor. I mean, we had some issues when they were painting and whatnot last fall, so we'll probably have to make sure they got caution tape up and keep them out of the area. And
Okay.
Watch for big trucks.
so,
Yeah. Cool.
Die Maker's Tank rehabilitation. We met with the contractor 28th of February to kind of go over schedule, get the pre-construction stuff out of the way. There was a possibility that they may come up and start doing some of the electrical installation or getting the handrail put up on top this week. With the weather that we're having, I'm not sure that'll happen. But they know the time frame that the project's got to be complete. Given 60 days. The main concern is how many days can we operate without that the tank actually holding water. We are bringing in temporary storage to help levelize pressure fluctuations in that pressure zone. Right now we're scheduled to have, I think, 50,000 gallons of temporary pneumatic storage located right now at 3, maybe 4 locations in that pressure zone, so that spread it out so not getting big pressure fluctuations.
Question, Matt, is that like just a regular bladder tank you fill full of air?
It'd be trailer mounted. Some of them are semi-trailers, some of them are just gooseneck trailers. Some of them are just bumper hitch trailers, just depends on what they have available at the time and the size of the storage we need. That would be something we just hook up with hoses between the tanks and the fire hydrants. So we tried to find some locations where it would minimal impact on pedestrians and vehicle traffic. So
Who's supervising that? You?
yeah. And we met with representatives of Spartan. Their only access to the facility is through their drive and around behind their building. So they were there. They're up to date with the plan moving forward. And so we were able to address any concerns that they had at the time. And they know if they have any concerns as the project moves forward that they can contact myself, the engineer, or the contractor. So.
Cool.
Provided a letter with that was sent to DNR regarding the downtown SSO project. That's a requirement of our agreement with them, and then also provided their response letter. Patchen Street area, it's something that's been on the list for a while. Addressing I&I. Late last month, we started doing some televising to try to identify old sewer taps that are no longer used. They were identified as big contributors of I&I, and so the plan would be to go in and seal those off with a cured-in-place point repair and see where that gets us, and then we can move on to the next item, which would probably be addressing maybe individuals' taps, chasing down broken taps that are allowing a lot of I&I to enter. So we have seen the number of calls regarding high levels at that lift station increase with the rains that we have been seeing. So it's something that we're going to try to address this spring. The stormwater side of things, again, we're working out questions with the two counties as far as billing options. Working with Black and Veatch on continuing to move forward with a database that will be part of this project, and then talking about the citizen advisory committees that we're planning on having. North Street, we'll talk about temporary repair a little later. And then electric side of things, we had a meeting with BHMG to go over kicking off that design project. So that was held last month, and they're moving forward with that. And then the two letters, the one that I sent to DNR regarding the downtown SSO and the response followed the memo. So that's all I've got regarding projects report, unless you all have some other questions.
Want to talk about North Street any, or you done with that?
North Street, again, we're still trying to secure funding for the permanent repair. We've got some early indications from the Corps of Engineers that they're going to do some repair in the area. We were scheduled to have a meeting with FEMA today. They failed to show, and with no call or email or anything. So still trying to jump through all the hoops and provide all the documentation necessary so that we're eligible for any funding that we can get from them to help further the process of that replacement. So.
Okay. Do you need a motion for us to approve the
The bid on Heartland?
That'll be it's a separate line item.
Yep, sorry.
No, it's got its own line. Okay. Yeah.
All right, ready for that?
Okay. Next, we have the finalized,
Wait, hold up.
okay,
We can talk about this temporary repair bid.
let's do it.
Had two bids. This is a project that we put out to bid in late January. First bid opening date was the 12th of February. At that time, we had nobody interested in it. Got some more names and made some more contacts with different contractors. We were able to drum up two bids this time. The lowest being $51,655 from Heartland Restoration. This is a contractor that we've had experience with in the past. They did the ceiling and between the primary secondary and the pre-sedimentation basins at the water plant as part of the water plant project that started up there in 2015. And so we're familiar with their work, and Michael did his due diligence in checking out all their paperwork and everything, and you can see his recommendation letter here.
Yep.
So we're based on this, just seeking your all's approval to move forward with awarding the project to Heartland Restoration. So,
Seeking a motion.
yep.
Is there a motion to recommend that Poping Stone and Bach Associates get the
It'd be Heartland Restoration.
it'd be Heartland Restoration for $51,655.00. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion carried.
I'd like to introduce Mark Grimm of Council with Gilmore and Bell, PC. They're our bond counsel. He's here to present the results and the finalized documents from our bond sale we conducted this morning.
Good afternoon. Mark. Well, I know Joy has been talking with y'all for quite a bit about this, and you've seen we handed you the results of the sale a few minutes ago. It's really amazing, and the market is obviously in quite a bit of turmoil, the bond market as well as the stock market. It's been up and down quite a bit, and last week we were wondering whether we should go forward with the sale or not, and all of the any negotiated sales, we're doing this as a competitive sale, but all the underwriters have been pulling the negotiated sales, so we've got nothing on the calendar the next few weeks. But Joy, I know, talked to Abe and Matt and decided to go ahead and go forward with the sale, and it was a great thing to do that. So the city received 5 bids this morning. As you see on the comparison sheet, the low was a true interest cost of $197. The high was a true interest cost of $277. She had run. Her scenarios were at a 2.80%. Was I think the rate at which she would recommend proceeding with the refunding, and so all 5 bids came in below her conservative estimate, and so this is really fantastic news for you all. It's going to result in almost $719,000 in present value savings on the refinancing. I'd be happy to answer any questions about this, and then after questions, we'll ask you to pass a resolution recommending to the City Council that the city proceed with the issuance of the bonds.
So what's the savings that's not present value?
It was roughly 900 and, a second. I'll tell you a second. The gross savings.
Nearly $940,000.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds better.
939,589.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's really, 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 really fantastic.
And when we started down this road back in December, Joey was projecting around $630,000 worth of savings. So.
And Abe, remind me, what time horizon is that over?
13 years.
Okay.
Kind of reiterate, we did not borrow any new money, nor spend the time period as borrowing, simply a refinancing.
Okay. So we.
And that savings that Mr. Grimm referred to is after cost of issuance, all fees related.
Okay.
I want to thank Mr. Grimm. This sale just happened 10 o'clock this morning, and he's come up here on the same day with all these documents for us, and his level of service on this financing and others has just been impeccable.
Thank you.
Joey Howard's also.
Yeah, it was just a terrific day for the board to accomplish these savings. I think it adds up to $60,000 a year or so. So that's obviously money you can put toward something else, and so we're all pleased. I think it's really a credit, just given the market turmoil, to the confidence that people have in the board's operations, the good credit rating that you all have, your stewardship, and so given this what's going on in the market, to get 5 bids at these rates is just really a testimony to your administration, your staff, and the way you operate this system.
You're very quotable. Could you come back at a meeting where we have more people?
We've got we're over our limit right now, aren't we?
We got it on video.
I'd like to point out that the winning bidder was from St. Louis. That's Zealand, Missouri from the bid. They were the winning bidder. And Joey told me later that their entire issue sold out within an hour or so. It's like they were able to pass all those on to their investors.
Wow.
The entire, and so
Okay.
it's kind of affirming that, or it's not kind of, it's very affirming that the investors saw credit in our utility and everything else, even these times, to take it down that whole issuance same day.
Cool. Very cool. Got anything else for us?
No, so if this is acceptable, we just ask for a motion to approve the resolution recommending approval of the ordinance to the city council.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I should say, I was meant to add, we really appreciate the opportunity to work with you all again. I mean, I really like working with Hannibal. It's such a great city and board to work with, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You've done great work for us a couple times recently, so really great.
Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Thank you.
Okay. Feel good about that. New business?
Yeah, historically, we've worked with the Economic Development Council just on a year-by-year basis. That made it real hard to budget for the next year, not knowing if the council was going to get funds to provide the level of service that they were anticipating to provide. So Corey had reached out to us, I believe, last year about a multi-year commitment. At that time, it was decided not to pursue it. However, he reached back out to us this year, and based upon what I've heard from you all, that's something that you would entertain. And so I worked with Corey. We got a 3-year agreement attached to following the memo here that would not take effect until July 1st of 2020 for your review and approval.
Any discussion? Corey, you got anything to say, or?
No, I do. I mean, Matt mentioned the budgetary, obviously, issues. That's one that is tough for us. A number of the things that we do, we have to commit on an annual basis. One of the things, for instance, is working with the Missouri Partnership on cooperative marketing opportunities and trips. And we typically get that information in October or November of the previous year, asking for a commitment for the full year the following year. So that's one of the reasons why I've been talking with the city and with the board about a multi-year commitment. It just helps us be able to make those commitments. It's those types of things are first come, first serve. So if we don't meet the deadline, we don't get to participate in those the following year, and so it can be detrimental to us from a marketing perspective. So I appreciate your recognition of that help with this. Thank you very much.
Discussion, Bill?
No, I think we've discussed it.
Yeah. No, I'm just pleased that this will make us HREDC's largest contributor, which I think as the city's publicly owned utility, we have a responsibility to be, especially because we stand to benefit the most. And I'm grateful to have a partner like you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So need a motion to approve.
Do I hear a motion for approval of 3-year agreement with $120,000 annually and increases of 3% in subsequent years effective July 1st, 2020?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Okay, next on the agenda is the Clinic Road property sale.
What this memo talks about here is we were approached by Sheridan Valley Communications several months ago about their interest in a piece of property that is up near the Clinic Road ground storage tank. They're looking for sites to locate their fiber breakout facility. It'd be similar to what is out behind Saints Avenue Bank, there at the intersection of Stardust Drive and Veterans Road. It's a piece of property that right now it's just grown up in scrub brush, nothing that we have any immediate or future plans for. So So talking with staff, we felt that it wouldn't hinder any of our operations by selling this piece of property. We reached a negotiated price with them for them to pay $10,000 for that 75-foot by 75-foot piece of property. And they would be responsible for all the surveying, all the necessary paperwork filed with the city, as far as, the subdivision and anything of that nature. So we're just requesting your approval to continue the sale of the property for $10,000 to Sheridan Valley. Upon your approval, it would then go to City Council for their approval, since they are the deed holder of the property. So,
Any discussion? Okay, I need a motion for approval of sale of property on Clinic Road, the 75-foot by 75-foot site to Sheridan Valley for $10,000.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved.
thank you.
Comments from our city attorney?
Nothing.
General discussion?
I do have one item.
Okay.
With the coronavirus outbreak, you've been seeing on the news other utilities and the steps that they're taking to prevent the spread of the virus. There's a few things that we've internally came up with a policy that covers extreme events, such as virus outbreak, natural disasters, that type of thing that we can implement that gives us the ability to make necessary changes in order to not only protect our employees here, but also to continue to provide necessary services to our customers. And so I just wanted to bring you up to date on a few things that we will be implementing, and some of the impacts that it does have elsewhere. We would immediately stop disconnects for non-payment. We're not going to put a date on it at this point because we don't know the length of the outbreak, but we would make it a public announcement, prior to re-implementing those disconnects.
So it's, to put words in your mouth here, we are not going to be cutting off anybody's utilities on an indefinite basis.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep. And again, once the outbreak is kind of passed, we'll be making a public announcement indicating at which time those disconnects would resume. The next thing is to halt any late fees or penalties associated with those accounts that are overdue. That would go in effect immediately. The one thing that I wanted to point out to you is presently, as you saw in last month, we contributed a little over $2,200 to Douglas Community Services from our 10% of our late fee collection that is then turned around used to help people pay their late utility fees or bills to us. Without collecting late fees, we're not going to have that contribution, or it's going to be greatly diminished over the next couple months. So I just wanted to.
Is there a way to rectify that? Because I'm sure Douglas depends on that money for some significant portion of their funding.
Their sole source of funding for utility assistance, along with customer roundup contribution, that's like in the $135 a month range.
Is there any legal way for us to essentially give them the money in the interim?
Why would you stop?
Because
We're not collecting late fees. We're taking 10% of the late fees collected and turning it over to Douglas to help with their utility funding assistance.
Could you take the average of past 2 years and just write that check?
Look at the same month a year ago, do that amount, but it has to be a line item out, some kind of.
Yeah, I get that, yeah.
It's something we can work on,
Yeah,
work
we'll
with
talk
Drew
about
and
the
look, and then
logistics,
keep
but-
you all in the loop on how we plan to move forward
We
with it.
certainly don't want to take that away. I think we'll find a way to
Okay.
get it there.
Thank you.
Next step would be looking at closing the office to walk-in foot traffic. We've been putting out on social media, the other payment methods that we have available to our customers. We would still have the drop box located here. The big issue is City Hall with the collector's office. They presently process roughly 600 to 700 payments a month. Through talking with them and talking with Lisa, there's no intention at this point to close City Hall to foot traffic. And so we're concerned that if we close our office, that it'll increase the amount of foot traffic there. So I'll be working with her to try to come up with a way to limit the amount of people coming in and paying bills. We've talked about signage. There is a drop box located on the 4th Street side of City Hall that people could take advantage of. But again, trying to limit the amount of foot traffic in there.
So, I mean, that would obviously be for the safety of the people coming in, but also for the safety of our office staff.
That is correct.
Is there any way, and this is a crazy idea, is there any way we could partner with a local bank for a drive-through option, or maybe even get into the old U.S. Bank building? Is that the building on Broadway?
My understanding that's
Oh, it's
sold.
sold. Oh,
Commerce Bank is technically our property right now, but,
Um,
On a real-time, short-term basis.
and not a bad suggestion to, if this is gonna stretch beyond whatever estimates we've got, to look at implementing.
yeah, like the Commerce Bank building, I don't know the condition that it's in or what facilities are even there
Yeah.
since they vacated the location.
I don't
So
know if there's power or anything there, so yeah, we would have to.
Everything's there. I don't even think it's been shut off. So power-wise.
You would also then have a safety concern, though, of putting 1 or 2 employees down there and having 1 or 2 employees out here, and you have breaks and you have lunches,
Yeah.
and putting a couple of people with large chunks of money.
good point.
That would be my concern.
Yeah.
so, with us not assessing late fees and stuff like that, there are payment methods that the customer can utilize to get us necessary payment. So
I mean, yeah, but to be fair, a lot of our customers aren't quite internet savvy, and with the library being closed, they're not going to have access to public internet.
but we still have the drop box option.
Okay.
We still have the drop box here and at City Hall.
Okay.
Again, it's just to limit the face-to-face.
And phone in too, right?
Yes, 24/7 phone system, online app, drop boxes. We
Okay.
also have a MoneyGram payment, which that would be sending them somewhere.
Okay.
But those are at CVS's, Walmart's nationwide.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of customers pay cash.
There's a decent amount of cash
Is
payments,
there?
yes.
Okay.
We run 2,500 customers a month make walk-in payments here.
And another 600 or 700 at City Hall. So
we're
over
getting
3,000.
40% of our total customers pay in person.
Even today, I can tell you, I don't have percentages, but I can tell you that our Dropbox was utilized a lot more frequently than it normally is. Even people who would just come in and hand it to us and walk off, they're putting it in that Dropbox.
Okay.
So I think it's just a way for us to encourage social distancing for people.
Okay. Glad you guys are on top of it.
And there's some other things that are going to come out of this. We've been working on a process to do online utility signups.
Okay.
It's something that we're going to begin doing later this week.
Okay.
It's something we had initially planned on doing probably around the first of the fiscal year, but because of this, we're going to give it a trial run and work through some of the problems that maybe not have been worked out or whatnot. So that'll, again, allow people continued service, but not have to have that face-to-face interaction at this point, and hopefully prevent the spread of the virus. And then we're just working on, different policies and procedures to keep our personnel safe, whether it be altering work schedules, working at home, should someone, or prior to, and should someone come down with the virus and have to be quarantined. But if y'all have any questions or whatever, whenever you hear about it, let us know.
Do you have a sure date on, are you picking a date? Did you state a date that the front office is going to be shut down, or are you waiting for a while? Or?
I got to work out the details with City Hall and the closure of that office first. but we're meeting daily on it. We're taking advantage of the different information that's being put out there, APPA, WWA, all those associations like that, in addition to different information through CDC and such. So trying to stay on top of it, and it's a fluid situation, trying to adjust accordingly. So,
Have you had many employees fighting issues with childcare now that the schools are closed?
I've not heard of any.
Okay.
I think with Illinois closing their schools last week, a lot of people thought about it this weekend, and so I've not known of any child care issues. So,
Very good. Very good.
so that's all I've got for general discussion.
That's the first time we've been under an hour in living memory.
7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to move to a closed session.
I'll make a motion that we, pursuant to section 610.021, paragraph 2, 3, and 12 of the Missouri Sunshine Law, we meeting shall convene in closed session to discuss real estate, personnel, and contracts, including
Drew, you all, me,
Courtney.
Courtney, Corey, Jared, and Abe.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a second.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.